Namaste, Recovery Warriors. Julie Norman and Christy Leahy here, bringing you a Body Karma Healing recovery pose of the month, our yoga pose of the month. It is our first outdoor video of 2017. Woo, woo. Cherish the light, honor the dark. So bear with us if we have some additional sound effects of nature, which I think are a great accent to our yoga practice. I really encourage you to get outside and be immersed in nature as often as possible. That grounding, that our body being the earth, that sense of really feeling life through your five senses, the aliveness, the elements. We could go on and on about that. Today, we are going to practice table pose, one of the most foundational yoga postures. And just a little bit of a disclaimer, this, as many poses in yoga can be, is kind of vulnerable. We'll be on our hands and knees and kind of opening the lower body, moving the pelvis a lot. And if at any time, just like anything in life, gets beyond your edge of where you are right now, just come to child's pose, come seated. Really pay attention to sensations, emotions, thoughts. Always just come back to taking some deep breaths and accepting where you are in the journey. So, no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Christy to get us started.
All right. So come onto your hands and your knees, and like Julie said, if something's uncomfortable or past your edge, this can be done in a seated position or even in a chair as well, because what's important is the shape of the spine. So align your wrists right underneath your shoulders and spread your fingers nice and wide. And do the same thing with your knees. Knees underneath the hips and those feet kind of reaching straight back, so you've got a good kind of straight alignment. All right, so we can play with a couple like explorations outside of the shape of the pose, and that can help align us with like what actually is a neutral spine. So be mindful of how your shoulders might naturally creep up to your ears, and try to create some distance between ears and tops of your shoulders. All right, so an even weight distribution between your hands and your knees. And just kind of press down into the ground on purpose. Make an intentional connection and lengthen your arms. Take some deep breaths like you hear Julie doing. Always a good reminder. And if you know there's certain sections of your spine that are a little tighter and certain sections of your spine that maybe are a little bit more flexible, pay mind to how that is going to play a role into the current shape of your spine. So many women, I notice, tend to kind of collapse the rib cage forward. So if that's happening for you, just do a little bit of a lift of those baby rib bones. So the baby ribs are the bottom of the rib cage, the bones that don't quite reach as far across as the rest of the ribs do. So pull that in. I
love that term, baby ribs.
Yeah, baby ribs. So pull that in, not to restrict or strain, but to be able to create more space in the middle of your back. So that's going to be really helpful for filling up the lungs as much as possible. So this is a good posture. Breathe and feel. Notice if the head is hanging down or tipped to one side. Again, we're never a statue here in our yoga practice, so we're able to move across the whole spectrum of the pose, but it's nice to find that neutral space too.
Lovely.
So then you want to show us some movements and things that we can do from here?
And just as you notice, like I'm noticing some sweat already in the sunshine.
It's not easy.
This is a pose that builds a lot of strength. So at any time, and it's good to know in any yoga practice, you can always find a seated or even child's pose as a rest.
I feel my arms burning.
I know, coming back, tucking the head, forehead down if it reaches, or you can put a prop under your head. Child's pose is kind of just go-to spot. We haven't done it as a pose of the month yet, but I've done it in the Shakti Power yoga series, so you can check that out. It's also on the Body Karma Healing e-course in, I believe, the 3rd module, the second chakra work. So that's a nice little release. So maybe take a little break there, come back up to table. And as Christy guided us, the neutral spine, that's the natural alignment of the spine. It does have a little curve in the low back, a little curve up between the shoulder blades. Make sure you lift the head and tuck the chin so your neck is long. Can also, to help the knees, press the tops of the feet down a bit, keep the knees lighter, or even put a blanket under the knees. Now, from the strong foundation, we can get some flow, some fluidity, bring some ease into the body. So breathing in, and again, this can be a little tricky, lift your tailbone, let your belly drop, press the floor down and out with your hands, and lift your heart and your chin. So arching the spine, we call this cow pose. Moo, moo. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone under, ripple the spine into a rounded position. Call this cat pose, like a Halloween cat. Meow. Again, pressing the earth away. And then you keep going, flowing with the breath. Inhale, ripple up from the tailbone to the crown of the head, arching, and exhale from the tailbone to the crown of the head, rounding. Now you can find that little bit of an S snake flow in and out of these poses, or you can do it a little more evenly, like lift the middle of the back as the head drops and the pelvis tucks under, and then drop the middle of the back as the heart, head, and hip bones lift. So you can just play here. It's a really foundational pose. And then I encourage you to explore your space a little from these rooted points of the hands, the knees, the tops of the feet. You can kind of circle around. And another note on this position is if your wrists are uncomfortable with your hands open and flat like so, you can do what Christy just did, put the knuckles on the earth. It can be a little modification for your body. So play, you could circle around. We call this Ganesha Mudra. Ganesh, the Hindu god of removing obstacles,
And
clearing the
them.
path, and placing them. Challenges, moving through challenges.
So we can grow from them.
Exactly. So emotions, trauma, insecurities, self-doubt, all that kind of stuff gets stuck in our body, and our yoga practice just helps us move the energy of those things through. The emotions are not who you are. Your past is not what defines you. Your experiences aren't what defines you. What you are is pure awesomeness, pure bliss. And in yoga, we just get all the other gunk out of the way. Now, after some movements, come back to table pose. Find that stillness again. And just notice, just observe your body sensations, your thoughts, any emotions. No judgment, no expectations, just witness. And through the breath, reminding ourselves, we are Atman, spark of the divine. We are strong yet flexible. We're secure in the foundation of the body, but we can be free and light in this body, in our hearts, in our minds. Beautiful. Take that release back to child's pose. Little bow to the ground, bow into your heart. And then gently roll up the spine to kneeling. Or if it's uncomfortable to kneel, drop onto one hip and come seated. So, we always appreciate the opportunity to practice with you, to share a little bit of our love of yoga each month. You can, again, journey with Christy and I over at bodykarmahealing.com and look for more of our yoga on Recovery Warriors. Blessings on your path. Namaste. Namaste.